Fans, welcome to Sports Chat. We're in the lovely Papa John's studios, where apparently somewhere around here they've suffered a sewage line break.
There wasn't a terrible odor about, but the pizza's still wonderful. The cookies are great. The breadsticks were just delicious.
The garlic Parmesan breadsticks at Papa John's are phenomenal.
Yeah, come down here and get the cookies. Ooh, that soup
We would show you the cookie, but we ate it.
We already ate it, and all the pizza, and all the breadsticks. Which is the wonderful part
I'm
about it.
actually thinking about licking that garlic Parmesan pan the breadsticks come in.
Very garlic buttery. Come to Papa John's. Ask for Dr. Marta. You'll get the best pizza you can get locally anytime. Good for it. Big happenings this weekend. The mighty Volunteers took down the number 10 or 11 ranked South Carolina Gamecocks.
And with them, Steve Spurrier.
Took down the old ball coach. Defense has played phenomenally well in that game because South Carolina had been playing really well on offense this season. Connor Shaw, he hadn't thrown a single interception this year. Cameron Sutton, freshman, managed to pick him off. Then we knocked him out of the game. We're on a just destructive streak.
Oh, we're like a wrecking ball. I mean, even better than that Miley Cyrus video.
And that's pretty hard to beat. But it's just amazing performance.
We devastated poor Georgia so badly, they lost to Vanderbilt.
So they've lost 2 in a row, Missouri and Vanderbilt now. I mean, we knocked Florida's starting quarterback out for the year. We knocked Georgia's running back out and Georgia's top 2 wide receivers out. Now we knocked South Carolina's quarterback out. You know, the defense is hitting hard, if nothing else.
They're not, it's not like they're dirty hitters.
No, it was all clean football plays. It's just hard-hitting football plays. And managed to hang on. South Carolina looked like it stole the momentum back when they came from 17-7 down to get up 21-17. Vols got down. Miraculous catch with Marquez North. And North, he was always listed as a highly rated wide receiver. He really didn't play wide receiver in high school. He played running back and quarterback in high school. But just made a great, miraculous one-handed catch with a guy, obvious passing interference, which they didn't call. I'm not sure why they didn't call the passing interference too. But the guy was riding on his back, and he caught the ball with one hand pinned against his shoulder pad. Set us up for a game-winning field goal. Butch ran the clock down to 2 seconds. And Pilardi came through with it.
And it was good coaching. It was good special teams play. A pretty good all-around game for the Vols.
Now, I'm not going to just go out of my mind on this one and say, well, we're going to beat Alabama this week. I'm not sure that they'll beat us by the 26 points they're favored by, but Alabama's playing really well. And to me, I looked at this season hoping we would go 6-6. And that's what I still hope. It just turns out that we got a win against South Carolina I didn't really expect, but I didn't expect Missouri to be 7-0 and ranked in the top 10
What
in the
about the
country.
surprising rise to power of Missouri?
Missouri could score last year, but their starting quarterback was knocked out most of the season. He got knocked out again this week, but that didn't matter against Florida. I mean, they ran threw for 300 and ran for 200 against Florida. Put 500 yards up on the Gators, which surprised me because Florida's offense is struggling since we knocked their quarterback out. But their defense usually plays very solid football. Missouri just opened it up on them, and once they did, Florida quit.
Just what about the upsets that failed this week? All in all, Texas A&M goes down.
Other than the name of it, I'm not certain that I would call the Florida-Missouri game an upset. I mean, it's just the name factor that we think it's an upset. Vanderbilt beating Georgia was a surprise. Vanderbilt had their backup quarterback. Auburn, unfortunately, Auburn is a prime example of why you make a proactive coaching move so quickly. As soon as it looks like the wheels are coming off, Auburn's like, you're out, next one in. The last time they did it, coach got a national championship within a year. That coach looks like he's gone off the track a little bit. They didn't wait on him to let it run into the ground. He's out. New coach in, Gus Malzahn with his high-powered, wide-open offenses. All of a sudden, Auburn's like, 6-1 now, I think, and ranked in the top 15.
Yeah.
That's another team that's a lot better than I thought they were going to be this year. So that November stretch of Missouri, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Kentucky is looking pretty rough right now. And Vanderbilt, they handled Georgia fairly easily, like I said, with their backup quarterback. And Auburn, they won a shootout against Texas A&M. Johnny Manziel got hurt, which probably aided their cause in the win. But
But he still played.
Texas A&M doesn't have a great defense. But still, though, to be able to outscore them, even with his hurt shoulder, he was out there playing.
And of course, the first BCS standings came out.
Yeah.
Waverly and Pyre was #1.
I really, really hate Alabama, and I really hate that they're #1. I hope no SEC team plays for the national championship this year. It does Tennessee no good at all unless that SEC team is Tennessee. I don't care about any kind of money you're supposedly getting or whatever for that extra game. It's not worth it to get plenty of money from the TV contracts. It's not worth it to have an SEC champ. Because you look, and unlike Tennessee in '98, either '99, who came out and fell flat in recruiting after the '98 national championship, which baffles me to this day. The other teams usually go out and win the national championship. They got a top 2 or 3 recruiting class the next season. And that's big. And we don't need that happening. We don't need Florida and Alabama and all these other teams winning these championships.
Missouri. We don't need Missouri to pick up the recruiting.
If somebody was going to win it from the SEC, I would rather it be Missouri because they're kind of in a crap hole for recruiting regardless. But I want no one from the SEC to win the national championship if it's not Tennessee. It does us no good. I don't have this conference pride, go SEC bullcrap. Any other SEC team doing well, that's us doing poorly. I feel the same way about the NFC East. I'm sure that you do as well. John, I know our director, Chris, he hopes the entire NFC North outside of Chicago gets hit by nuclear weapons every Sunday. He would be perfectly fine with it. Our great friend and supreme pizza maker, Dr. Martis, he would probably bomb Florida State himself if he could. Not he's saying he's a terrorist or anything, because he's not. Don't come after him.
Likewise, Grant would probably bulldoze Miami into the sea.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way, that's what you're supposed to
As
do.
a Florida State fan.
If Alabama's playing a game against somebody else, I'm for whoever they're playing.
I said a long time, I use Kentucky basketball, for example.
Those jackals, I wish they would all just...
If Kentucky basketball were playing the Nazis,
Oh, good.
I would cheer for the Nazis.
There's what you got to
right
get
there.
There's no conference, but there's no conference pride. It does your team no good to have conference pride. No good at all. The SEC's proven itself now. I mean, my God, you've won 8 national championships in a row or whatever. That's enough. That's enough. I know back in the '90s, teams would get overlooked from the SEC sometimes. That's never going to happen again. Now we get the supreme benefit of the doubt. We don't need anybody else to win a national championship. Right now, go Hurricanes, go Oregon, somebody besides an SEC team. Unless, somehow Tennessee wins the rest of their games and by miracle everybody else loses a bunch and a 3-loss team gets to play for the championship.
That would be the most supreme BCS buster of all times.
It would be strange, but it almost happened the year LSU went 10-2 and got to play for the national title. Yeah, it's a big week for Tennessee. I'm not ready to dive in and think we're going to beat everybody the rest of the year. The schedule's still really tough the rest of the year. But it was good to get a win over a team like this. It's the first time since 2006 we've beaten a top 10 team. That's not Tennessee football. To go that long a stretch and play that poorly, it's literally, unless you've been alive for over 100 years, and went to something most of us haven't, you've never saw Tennessee play this poorly. Tennessee doesn't.
We met a man this weekend that may have. Stan's pretty old.
Stan, he was a teenager back in those days. Still, but even when Stan was a teenager, Tennessee was going undefeated pretty much every year. That's when Nealon was in effect. It's been longer than that. When a 90-year-old man didn't even get to see your unglorious days before this. That's how long it's been. Tennessee's one of the 2 teams who's never lost 8 games in a season. Tennessee and Ohio State are the only 2 that never lost 8 games or more in a season in football. That's why Tennessee, since 1925, is number 2 in wins. They won a lot of games. You don't usually see this bad of football that we've had the last few years. It's just unprecedentedly bad. And anything that you can get, like the South Carolina game, is a big positive. And good fortune, we will beat Alabama. I'd probably be running up and down in front of Papa John's naked next Monday if we do. Maybe even Saturday night. But my God, I hate that Auburn and Missouri got so good so fast. That hurts us for trying to be well eligible. Recruiting's also good. We got that junior college wide receiver. I can't think of his name right now. We lost a good wide receiver commitment a few weeks ago. Can't remember why. I think his name was Eric Lauderdale, but
We did lose Lauderdale.
we picked up this junior college guy, and he's getting a lot of comparisons to Cordell Patterson right now. He's already had 6 200-yard games this year for his junior college in California. That's 200 yards receiving is a lot of receiving yardage in the game. He's extremely fast. I think he said he runs around a 4.3 40. Kind of a big, tall player. He's just an excellent athlete, a good pickup. And between that and defensive tackles and stuff we've been getting lately, Tennessee's got the #1 ranked recruiting class in the country again. And that'll be huge. Some of them are going to have to enroll at midterm. The junior college guys will be able to, so it'll count against this year. And that'll go a long way towards filling our depth.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's probably our weakest point right now, more than anything, is depth.
Our starters on both sides of the ball, I mean, Tennessee's not had a recruiting class. Even at Dooley's worst, Tennessee still had top 20 recruiting classes. We don't have bad ones. It's just that some of the players didn't work out. From Kiffin's recruiting class, you end up with 2 or 3 players, so your depth is gone. And then
I mean,
2 or 3
Kiffin
players
had
can do
a
it.
great class. Just
That was a top 5 class.
like Bryce Brown.
On paper, but then they all ended up leaving school for one reason or another. So there were only 3 players that Kiffin recruited. Our depth is
And
gone.
then you look at all the juniors that left, there were at least the 2 power juniors that left last year, and Hunter and Patterson. You know, you lose both those receiving threats. You know, Hunter's had some big catches for the Titans, and I know Patterson's had some good games for the Vikings.
It's just, we lost a lot in one year, but the depth is coming back now. I'm not certain that Worley will be the starting quarterback next year.
God, I hope not.
He
He is the second coming of Jonathan Cron.
he played decently this week against South Carolina. I'll give him that. And he's playing a little better. But I don't know that he's a quarterback that you're going to go out and get big win after big win with. And the other team's going to be in a lot of games. Worley sort of reminds me of Alex Smith at Kansas City. And Kansas City's 7-0 this year and doing well. But Alex Smith, he doesn't throw anything beyond 15 yards down the field. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, which Worley's cut those mistakes down the last few weeks that he had early in the season. But you don't make mistakes, you don't make big plays, though. And Kansas City's winning because their defense is playing so well. Unfortunately, our defense hadn't been playing well early in the season, but now it's starting to play a lot better. But we'll see what happens this week against Alabama. They won 52-0, I think, against Arkansas. But by transitive property, since South Carolina beat Arkansas 52-6, but that means Alabama's like 104 points better than somewhere along those lines. I can't remember.
If the Price twins were here, they could use their math skills.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we returned to Campbell County football action this weekend. Senior night, Friday night. The hated Beavers of Karns come to town. I know that all you younger ones think that Anderson County is this great rivalry. Campbell County's real rival is Karns.
Lots of bad blood over the years, fist fights. There was almost a fight a couple of years ago with Jordan Kendrick and one of their coaches.
I was on my way to the field for that one.
We just got to the press box. But yeah, it's just years of bad blood with Karns. I'm not sure why. Honestly, I think it's because a lot of years in football we were playing Karns for last place.
We often battled for the Cellar Dweller title.
And this year, Karns is in their normal role of being near the bottom of the league.
Campbell County's in the opposite role of being
odd role of being on top of the world. Biggest district happening this weekend was Oak Ridge beating Powell. That put Powell had control of its own destiny for winning the district championship. They moved to 6A in the playoffs anyway.
But the district state championship still matters.
And the district championship is still big, and the first time Campbell County would ever accomplish that if they can pull it off. Now Campbell County has to beat Karns, beat Powell, and hopefully Oak Ridge stays hot and beats Anderson County, unless Hall's pulls a miracle out this week.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, even with 2 games, both those games are huge. Usually at this point in the year, Campbell County football, as far as mathematically doing anything for the playoffs, have been irrelevant.
If all that happened, Campbell County wins the next 2 games, Oak Ridge beats Anderson County, Campbell County gets that district title, you're looking at hosting 2 playoff games at least. And I'm not sure how the bracket breaks down, possibly 3.
Right. It's
But since there's apparently no buys this year.
and the baffling playoff structure that is the Z plan. Thank you, TWSAA. I love you.
But that would be big to host even 2 playoff games. Right now, they're predicted to host 1. Last I saw, they were supposed to host Central.
We've only ever hosted 1. That was Farragut. We went to Ooltewah twice.
Yeah, that Ooltewah trip's a tough trip to make down the Tennessee Valley, and Ooltewah's always got a powerful team. But right now, you just got to go out and beat Karns. That's what matters. And so, we look ahead. The players don't look ahead to stuff like that.
But that's kind of our job, is to sort of look ahead.
We're around,
tell everybody what's going on.
around several players, especially Ethan quite a bit. And he's just looking at Carnes, studying the game.
I imagine he's been glued to huddle for an entire week.
I mean, he takes it seriously. The rest of the team, the coaches. I don't go into any game worrying that we're going to be out-coached or that our players are going to be outworked in the game. There may be teams out there that have more pure athletes, but there's not any team out there that works any harder or gets coached any better in the district.
And of course, it's one of those things too. We've been on a good run, and we kind of had that speed bump in Gibbs. We've had this entire week though to get over that.
Gibbs is tough. Gibbs got that option offense. It's just really hard to stop. Not many people do. Gibbs got a pretty big win last week. Pretty sure. I think they won. And it's just what it is. I think with the off week Gibbs had, and they're an unconventional offense. That's why that game looked the way it looked. And Clinton, we had to just battle Clinton tooth and nail to get that win. And Clinton, as they've had some one-sided losses this year, and had a couple of big wins.
Well, it's just one of those things that Clinton can put up the points. I mean, that 63-60 last-second loss to Central was just a crusher.
Well, because of that game now, it's the first time this year Ethan no longer leads the district in passing yardage. Clinton's quarterback is ahead of him by, I think, 200 yards in passing yardage. And that's just that Rodney Ellison offense. It's wide open. It's ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. He's a prime example of a local guy that can just coach the heck out of a football team that was never allowed really much of a shot here. He applied the first time around, and they didn't even call him back. The brilliance that, is.
I'm really happy we got Matt and Justin, but I feel that if we had hired Rodney, we'd be sitting here having the same kind of conversation about Campbell County's research football program. He turned Wartburg from a cellar dweller into a playoff team 2 or 3 years in a row.
I see a lot of similarities in Rodney and Justin. Rodney's very excitable. Justin's very excitable.
You can talk to Coach Matt Price, the defensive guy, defensive coordinator and everything for Campbell County. He's not a big fan of having to face Rodney's offense.
He's like, man, I hope he gets a head coaching job outside this league.
Rodney's tough, and he deserves a head coaching job. Right now, he's in a good spot for his family in the Oak Ridge school or the Anderson County school systems. So I can't blame him for that. Got to take care of your family first at this level, especially. It's any little bit of a raise or anything else you get helps you a lot. Rodney Clinton's really lucky to have Rodney, and they're pretty lucky to get Sean too.
Yeah, as much grief as I give Sean Jesse, he's a heck of a coach. Our days at Jacksboro, and those were some teams. And speaking of Jacksboro, big win Thursday night, playing for the title against Oneida. Unfortunately, that game is at Grace Christian.
Yeah, Jacksboro's playing well right now. I mean, the only loss they have, I'm not even sure if I would count it as a loss. I mean, they did lose the game, but it was that Hall's traveling squad that's not actually a middle school football team. That Halls doesn't have a middle school or a middle school team. They have a middle school. They don't have a middle school football.
As does no Knox County public school.
It's a traveling squad made up of the best players from the region in that area, and who knows whether all of them are actually middle school.
A lot of those players wind up at Gibbs or Patmos.
They split off to other schools.
Yes.
They split off to other schools. Those traveling squads are a beast of a different color. So Jacksboro's basically undefeated against the actual middle schools this year. Granted, it was a tough 14-13 win against Oneida.
It was. I mean, Oneida's just a powerhouse, and Oneida, Norris gave Oneida all they could handle in the game the same night on the other side of the bracket. And I'm really close with one of Norris's coaches, Daniel Collins. He played actually for me and Sean. So you can see there's a lot of coaching familiarity with me and a lot of these people. And Norris gave them all they wanted. In fact, Norris took out one of their best players during the game, so that might give Jacksboro a bit of an edge.
It's tough to beat a team twice in the same season. And that's what Jacksboro's looking at. That Oneida offense is just brutal to stop. Jacksboro did a good job with it this year because Oneida's not quite as big as they have been in the past years. But by God, you got to get them now because Oneida's young.
31 sixth graders.
That'll be a tough game. Either team winning won't surprise me in the least. Oneida's they've won the district for this level of championship 5 years in a row. Until somebody beats them in the championship, you've got to slightly favor them to win.
To be the man, you got to beat the man.
Somebody really nice, really great once said that.
You know, it rings true in just about any sport you want. And Jacksboro's had some really great runs, but it seems like Oneida has always been there to just squash those runs at the end.
Yeah. This is not an uncommon championship game matchup for the last few years.
And before Oneida, when Oneida played actually a level down, and the Oak Ridge teams were still in it. The Chris Johnson year, you know, it was just expected Jacksboro was just going to roll through and win that title. We got down there, Robertsville had this kid named Spencer Goldmeyer playing for him. He was like a bigger, stronger, faster, more muscular Chris Johnson.
Yeah, that does not surprise me coming from the Oak Ridge area.
There's a lot of radiation down there.
It's just like the point we made with Nick Bailey last year, or last week, pardon me, and this, at the middle school and high school levels, one great player makes all the difference in the team.
Right.
And my God, we saw that kid from SMMS just single-handedly beat Jacksboro a few years ago.
Right.
And apparently that kid went on from his SMMS and skipped Union County and went to Anderson County.
SMMS is fantastic.
Horace Maynard, yes, it's Horace Maynard, but he left Union County and went to Anderson County, and talking to his uncle, he ended up being the leading tackler of all time in Anderson County. Another one of their out-of-county products that go up on the Hall of Fame, the Wall of Fame down there. Most are from Campbell County that are on the Wall of Fame, but there's a few of them from other counties. Very few from Anderson County.
You're right. I mean, and you see it on everything there. Basketball, track, volleyball.
The Cougars are down there playing Anderson County this year. That big wall right in front of where you go in the gym. You'll see a lot of people from Campbell County in every sport.
But you know, hey, now Campbell County's looks like it's got a leg up on closing that pipeline.
Yeah.
Our facilities are great. Our coaches are great. We've got a soccer program now, and don't ever discount how huge that is.
That pipeline, and to me, I felt that it's gone, actually. As we've heard of Anderson County coaches, they're out beating the bushes, and some other counties looking for some players to come down there. Campbell County got the stadium upgrades approved. I don't remember if we talked about that last week or not.
I think we may have touched on it, but you know, Campbell County Stadium, I'm not going to say it's in bad shape, but it's still relatively solid. But you know, it's seen almost 40 years of the elements.
Well, there's a crack 2 inches wide going
Of
up
course,
the you can see through.
Of course, the tragic pyro show's explosion.
That crack. There's just a lot of improvements. They're going to build new restrooms, make it a little more handicap accessible to everybody. It's big things are going on up there. And you got a lot of excitement with this year's team,
And
all the players, the coaches.
Of course, another thing we've not really had a chance to touch on yet. Of course, it's not basketball season. It's what a big gym improvement Campbell County has.
Yeah, everything. They've really fixed the gym up. It was nice. Except last year, they did even more improvements to it this year.
Right, I got to give mad props to Lance. That mural he did is wonderful.
I believe they put a new floor in
I think so.
this past week. The Cougar basketball Twitter, go out and follow it, was tweeting about getting the new floor finished. You know, Matt Housley, I expect he's going to have the boys ready to play this year.
I know Browning and Smith should already be Turnblazer to me. We'll have the girls in good shape.
Josh James, he's got a lot of football duties right now, but he runs them.
But you know, Spencer St. John's there helping Matt. Spencer's a heck of a
Spencer's a good coach.
So,
But they got things lined up. You got Corey Poteet coming back this year. You know, he's one of the Campbell County's 1,000-point scorers recently. And I expect him to have a big senior year. Got some good freshmen coming in. Dallas Griffith was a great player.
oh yeah, Dallas was a phenomenal, in 7th grade Dallas was phenomenal.
Tall.
And he had that ankle injury going into his 8th grade year. But, you know, he's completely recovered from that.
You never know how much a freshman's going to get a play or not, but he could make an impact. Gillenwater,
Torres.
Torres.
Gillenwater.
great players. It'll be exciting up there if, hopefully a lot below freezing outside because I burn up in there when it's not. But it'll be a nice, year. You got some good players on the girls' side, Whitney Sawyer and Jamie Minot,
Amber Guy.
Browning, one of the best coaches in the district.
He actually is, at this point, probably the most experienced basketball coach, except for Odom at Powell. He's the most experienced basketball coach in the district. I mean, Ryan, he was always, he was always kind of in Sherry's shadow as an assistant because she was just very dominant in basketball for years. And when she retired to become athletic director, he stepped right in, and there was no visible problems with the transition. Like I said, he just stepped in, took over. It was just like a smooth running machine.
Yeah, he's proven himself over and over. Won the district champion, the district tournaments. And if anybody can get the girls coached up, he'll have them coached up. I know Cody Parker, he's working hard with the Jacksboro basketball.
I know Michael Kane and Johnny Cox are up at La Follette working hard. They run the chains for La Follette football, and I was talking to them about their basketball squads.
Middle school basketball, high school basketball's got a little bit to go before it starts. Middle school basketball starts in a couple of weeks.
Well, we were talking to Cody Parker the other night about how it's going to work out there. Campbell County's first playoff game is going to see him rush from Powell from a basketball game to be at the school in time to coach the football game.
Fortunately, the basketball game is a midday game. It's an in-school game. So
And the boys are going to play first instead of last.
he'll have some time, but that's just, him and James and a bunch of other coaches, they do a bunch of work. Put a lot of hours in.
And before we wrap up tonight, I want to give some credit to the elementary school cross country team. Macy Caldwell, whose mother and father both graduated with me. Wesley was a really good basketball player. Jennifer was brilliantly smart. Macy, an elementary schooler, she's a runner. This meet was the only meet she did not finish first in all year. She finished second in the state elementary middle school meet.
I'm sure that,
And not surprisingly, on the boys' side of that meet, Riley Faulkner, whose older sister Gracie is just a dominant cross-country and track runner, and carried on that long Faulkner tradition.
the Faulkners are running fools. They love it. They're good at it. Like a bunch of real smart Forrest Gumps that run around up down the road.
And Big Jack, he is channeling his inner Uncle Si these days. I literally, he was coming up the bleachers the other day. I'm like, Parker, is that Uncle Si? He's like, Pat, that's Jack Faulkner. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm sure Browning and Evans are going to really look forward to getting those.
oh yeah. Well, actually, Browning is the one who coaches this team.
Well,
So
and Browning, you're also a very hard-working coach.
she actually is probably the most uncredited, hard-working coach in the county.
Because that cross country, you've got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Go out and you start your meets by 6:30 or 7 o'clock.
Yeah, and no offense to any cross-country people, that's why you don't see us. I mean, sorry,
I'm awake, but
I'm not.
a lot of way out.
I'm speaking German in my sleep at that point. Fans, we'll see you Friday night at senior night. We'll be here next week at lovely Papa John's Studios.